Hey everyone, this is Dawn. I hope that this records okay, and I am outside, as you can see, near the AC units, so apologies in advance for any noise, but if I don't record this now, it's probably not going to get done, and the last several videos that I was asked to share have not, for a variety of reasons, been shared. So I'm here, and just bear with me in terms of the distractions. So I don't have one particular thing to share today, but I have several things to touch on, and I have the sense that this is sort of a intro to whatever October is all about. A while back, I may have mentioned this, I can't remember, but a while back I was, kind of, Spirit made it really clear, like August was a little bit of like a, just here and there, and my energy was being pulled in a million directions, and then September I was kind of shown that that was like, rest up, Dawn. It's your month off, which wasn't really a month off, because of course I was led to a place, it was in North Carolina, I can't remember if I shared during that time, and there was, as always, an energetic reason that I was there, and so had to do with various things that have been a part of my journey and my service in my own unique way, and so but it was restful also, and so here I am at the end of September, moving into whatever October's about. I have no clue, sorry, no information, but I do feel like it'll be incredibly like there's no way the world will be the same at the end of October as it will be at the beginning. I know that's saying a lot given how this year has gone down already, but that's what I have, and I sort of think that this video for me is a bit of a placeholder, and I'll be back to share more. So just bear with me, there are several threads I just want to touch on. First being, gosh, the light is terrible, isn't it? I don't know that I can shift that. Give me just a yes, so October feels incredibly impactful. I have a couple of specific things. Of course, we all know the political landscape and just the state of the world itself, and so I'm not going to speak too much to that in this video, but we know that that's all that's transpiring there and unfolding, and in terms of it's a bit of a catch-up game, right? Because whatever you want to attribute it to, people's inability to be plugged into themselves, into the what's actually occurring due to cognitive dissonance or whatever else that's about for them individually. I honestly believe a lot of times it's just plain and simple distraction, or an unwillingness to release themselves from what has always kept them safe, or they think has kept them safe, because of course it hasn't. It's been a corruptive factor. It's caused a lot of separation within and without, and but obviously there's a catch-up period, and people have not, in general, I'm talking not all people of course, but in general, the masses have not yet, they're beginning to awaken, but they have not yet come to the point where they see the depth of, there are two hummingbirds right outside the screen here, which is odd but wonderful. They've not yet seen the depth of whatever you want to call it, the depravity, the corruption, the control, the manipulation. What they think has kept them free has been what has kept them enslaved. And I know, from my own journey, for a long time, go back about a decade or so, I always saw through it, since I was a child, and I learned to kind of basically split myself and live in two worlds. There was the true reality, and I had that, and that was the gift of my life, I would not be alive without that, without having had that connection. I've read about it in a variety of ways, whether it is that inner, Jesus being with all the split parts of me when, with my healing journey, or whether it is the more galactic nature of that, which I never talked about really, but, my high council friends or whoever you want to call them, who have always been speaking to me, again, since I was really young, and that is what has, and until the last 5 years, I didn't understand that, like, everybody didn't have that. I thought it was like normal, everybody had it, and they were just ignoring it, and actually I think that is true, but what I have come to see, of course, is that not all people have an awareness of that, and I always had the awareness, and that is the gift of my life. So there's a bit of a catch-up period, and but October, I feel, will be a bit shattering in terms of those who are still attempting to kind of rebuild everything and keep the structures sustained. And this is a period of dissolution, and the solution is in the dissolution. And we, most of us watching, if you're watching me here, you probably are well aware of that and think, yeah, duh. I know I get that a lot, and but just, I'm called to speak these things and to share them where I share them, and I trust that they will reach who they're meant to reach. So I've been having a lot of dreams lately. I had one last night. Quite a lot of threads, so I'm not going to try to share the whole thing here, and who knows, a lot of it's probably personal, but in particular, let's just say there have been a lot of last night, Thomas Merton came again, and he's somebody I connect with, and he's an American monk, and for anybody that does not know, and he's come to me many times, and I've read his books, and I love them, and celebrate the light that he was in this world. And when he first came to me, it was just basically to show me what happened with his death, and to put out a call to the Vatican to release the details on that. I don't think that's happened yet, but they know, trust me. And last night's presence was essentially very interesting. It was essentially a show. He was showing me how many monks, modern, have been killed. I have no evidence of this. I just want to say that up front. It was just a dream, but I do believe there's a connection to reality. And it was about the silencing within that structure, that religious structure, the Vatican, and it's more than the Vatican, though. I want to be clear. And, I've spoken about this before. It's been a big part of what I was called to be present to with my energy, was that it was two things: that entire religious line of messaging, and the inculcation, the indoctrination, I'm not going to use that word, the illusion that was created, which it was one where dark is made to look light. Let's just say it that way. And so that presence to the religion and the Vatican, and more systems within various religious organizations and structures. That was one aspect. And then the second, and there's always the earth stuff, and then the second thing, though, in terms of like broader issues, was of course child trafficking, which I care deeply about. And so let me finish with the religious part first. So Merton's, showing me this. It was quite vivid. And my assumption is that it does have to do with now, although I have no evidence, I don't know. But I wanted to share that. And there's something with this time period right now, 2020. I was called back to a video I did about 3 years ago, where I think I mentioned this before, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write my own little articles of reformation, because that happened, 500 years ago. And I ran across a Martin Luther quote also. Let me just find that quote. Martin Luther was behind his 95 theses that he hung to the door against the corruption in the church. In that day, the Catholic Church began the Protestant Reformation, which has its benefits and has its not so good side, but that's who Martin Luther was. And he said, one of his quotes says this: "Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree." And so there's a beautiful song, "The Apple Tree can't remember it right now. It's a very classic song. Maybe look that up. It feels very significant. I should have done that before this video, but I don't have time. As a matter of fact, it's like 11:22. I have like 20 minutes, so and I have a lot to share. So the period of history. So about 3 years ago, I was like, I'm going to write my own little 95 Theses. I don't even know where that is, but I was like, I wrote my own, and so that was technically the 500-year mark. I think it was in 1517 that happened, and that was 2017 when I did that. But for some reason, like, that's huge right now. That whole shaking of the foundations in our own way here in 2020. So it's not about destroying or bringing down. For me, it is for some other people out there, but for me, it's not about that. It's about more bringing it to light, bringing what's posing as light to reveal its true nature, and bringing the true light that has been snuffed out, hidden, or cast aside forward. And so all of us are called to be warriors. I know I'm talking about religion here, but just like broaden it for a moment. All of us are called to be present to the light within us, and to do this within us, okay, within us first. So allowing for the dissolution of what is not true, what has been posing as light, what has been posing as good, what we have propped up to be some stable, safe, secure foundation, which is indeed a false foundation. And this is the work of October, and this is the necessary work that each of us must do. Okay, so I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's hilarious. So inside, there's organ music playing right now. Okay, so this work, this allowing for the dissolution is really key right now. This continuing to plant your apple tree, regardless of what looks like it's happening external, is vital during October. And I do think this will be the most crazy waves we have seen yet, in terms of going back to that, you know, where it's funny when I said, like, oh, be the calm in the storm, the stillness and the chaos. I saw that it'd be rocky, but I had no idea the extent to which that would happen in the collective. Okay, so there is, that's a religious thing I wanted to touch on. This second area of child trafficking I want to circle back to for a moment, because I had a new level of awareness, and I may share a video. I posted a very brief video at the front end or the back end of this video. That was you know, for purity, for innocence, for the children, holding that space. We need to continue to do that. So what I want to say here is, you know, going back, I don't think I spoke about this here because of the sensitive nature of where I was specifically, but I was in the DC area in January and February of this year at a particular spot in a particular very specific location that Spirit arranged for me, associated with specific anchoring. And while I was there, you know, February, I don't remember the date, but there was, you know, like a lot of underground explosions going on, and I knew what that was, and felt like, you know, little earthquakes, and even had a conversation with somebody who was walking their dog in that neighborhood, and I was like, they were like, strange, we seem to be having earthquake activity, but it's not showing up on the radar. I was like, yeah, you have no idea is what I wanted to say, but I didn't, of course. And you know, like, I went through my own processing with that, the deep sorrow at that time, but also it's a weird mix, right? The deep sorrow, but also the thank God, you know, this is finally, it's finally being, there's finally a little breakthrough. And yet, okay, so in me personally, here we are, what is it, 9 months later, 8 months later, I don't know, and like, where the heck is why has it not come to light yet? And why, you know, like, it looking insane to people, you know, who are like, yeah, what are you talking about, Dawn? There's no evidence of that. There's no proof of that. And I don't actually talk about it very much at all. But when I even mention it in passing, it does look rather insane. But my point in sharing it here is that I have been shown that we have to actually continue, because I believe many have thought, okay, it's done, and in some ways it is done. It will come to light. There has been much progress and much freedom and many successful things have happened. Many steps toward that liberation of humanity, and in particular the freedom of those who are most vulnerable. And yet I have a sort of a new awareness that it's really essential we continue, because it's not over. It is in the big sense, and this is like, that's how I always see things, right? Like in the overarching, because that's where my focus is always. That's who I am. It's why I'm here. But I've been shown, like, specifically, sorry, there's mosquitoes out here too. Specifically, there are still things. It's still in progress, underway. I've shown a little bit that the places where the most tense operations are with that still have to do with actually a huge population of souls, children, who are so forgotten that nobody even knows, like, that they're missing in terms of individuals, and then in terms of the larger evil that has been at play. It's an entire line of aberration, is what I want to call it, an entire line of aberration that has been, as of yet, relatively unknown. There may be some people out there who are plugged into the specifics of this who do know, but I'm just speaking to it from my own unique angle there. And so the idea here is to continue to hold the space and the light. So if you can, on a daily basis, tune into that. And I meant to look before I got on here. It's like, how long has it been since I made that original call to prayer and that my gig is up video? I think it was in 2017. I have to look back at that. But the jig is up, however you say that. But it's still underway as well. So I personally am like, please, can we just please have some bit of truth that is shown to the masses? And, you know, sometimes I actually think it's going to take the galactic intervention, and I think that we're not that far away from that, if that is the case. Hopefully we can get to it on our own. There will be just one. I'm always like, where are the teachers? Where are the doctors? Where are the people, the good people in journalism? Where are the leaders within education and healthcare and media and government, of course? That whole system is so compromised that I'm not so certain that there are any. People tell me there are. And I definitely think, in terms of like the big picture, like if you look at it from that higher perspective, I definitely think that's good. But I'm like, where's the integrity anywhere? Where is, and again, there's a lot of posing going on, right? Because what looks like integrity is, it's that same illusion that has happened in other ways throughout the centuries, throughout the millennia. And okay, I know I got off of course a little bit there, but yeah. So hold the light for the children in particular, but also it's a holding the light for the innocence and purity of humanity, the true nature of who we are collectively, and of course individually. And if you take nothing else from this video, then take this. Hold the light, hold the light, hold the light for yourself, for all that is true and good and noble and just within you. Critical. I'm going to look something up as I need to look back at my notes. I have so much. I mean, I have to come back and do a second video, and I'll probably wait. But I do want to mention another quote that keeps resonating for me, which is it's Thomas Paine, American Revolution. I feel like there's cycles here that are looping together and weaving together. But because I've talked about the Reformation, talked about and Martin Luther, and I've talked about the American Revolution now, and this whole, in terms of that issue of child trafficking, that has way big loops that go way back, like, you know, of course, like Babylonian times, but also it cycles through various centuries, and the way it presented, or was presented again, it was all sustained by the presentation of something as light, held up as light, that got the masses to invest in that structure that was a false foundation, a false structure, a Tower of Babel, if you will. And that's how it's been sustained through time. So we have to be vigilant. Back to the American Revolution, that there have been some images there coming up, and Thomas Paine's quote says, can't read it without my glasses, sorry. They're not clean. Society is produced by our wants, and government by wickedness. The former, society, promotes our happiness positively by uniting our affections. The latter negatively by restraining our vices. One encourages intercourse, the other creates distinctions. So we are in the passage to this new society. You can look at my video series there if you want to know more about that. We are in the passage to a new society. We are in the year of building the nest of faith and foundations, believe it or not, and into this passage to a new society, a new era rich in love. It's a 7-year passage, and there are 12 diamond dimensions. You can go to my website to get the free downloads there and explore further if you would like. Yet, in the passage, in this first passage, which rough waters, clearly, a lot of chaos, in this passage, there is a rampant disease, a cancer that is eating away at us from the inside out within each one of us, and it's playing out in groups, in communities, in states, in nations, in societies, in systems, and in all this web of global whatever it is. There is this cancer, and that disease, that cancer is silence, and that silence is the tyranny. You know, I'm called back to this book I wrote like in 1999, which was actually very narrow in terms of its message. It was within this, you know, like one little church pocket of the whole religious structure, of the whole intertwined systems of and the culture of collusion I talk about, and you know, and then you put in the more galactic nature of that. The systems of control. So there's like, it's like, it goes on infinitely, but that cancer, so it begins with each one of us. And if each one of us will say no to the tyranny of silence, of remaining, you know, too afraid to speak out, that if we will, you know, people are not thinking. We, you know, and it's all of us, okay? It's easy to point the finger and to see like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, why aren't these people like paying attention? Why are they so like narrow? That's easy to do. I found myself many times like riveted, right? In the same way other people are riveted to the TV screen and this this story that is being controlled by like, you know, multinational corporations, and they're like all too willing to just be spoon-fed this thing that's not even real, this saccharine, and yet the disease, the cancer, the tyranny that is the silence begins in each one of us, even I would say in some of us who do speak out in our own ways. And that cancer is eating away at us. It is, this is the true unfolding here. And so this capitulation to the madness that is, comes from the tyranny that we have been under for millennia, more than millennia. And all the shenanigans and the charades are what they are. And, you know, and I think that on a deep soul level, many people do recognize this. But I do, again, where are the ordinary, everyday people like you and me who are, and I do guess this is happening with, I know there's been a lot of global events and things like that, but you know, where are the people of the earth? Are we really too busy to see beyond this veil, and are we really all too willing to be disconnected from our whole self and our soul self and consent to what the storyline that someone else is going to pump into it? And where are all the good Christians? Have you not read the book of Revelation? Not that this is, you know, some going to play out on some battlefield in the Middle East. No, it's playing out within your hearts. The Third World War is within the hearts of man, as that poem said that I wrote in like 1997. I see it in my own heart. And this is what we have to be vigilant about in this next month in October. We must be present to ourselves and hold that candle up to the purity and innocence of who we are, and hold it for those who have been so wounded and compromised. And it's not just children who have been enslaved and awful things done to them. It's also people who are caught up in these systems who have literally lost their way to the extent that they no longer understand that there is a choice, or they've become so locked into this whole, like, I don't know, money or fame, or the exposition of the famous and the fraudulent of the moment, as my Cultivating Essence book says, you know. And so it's the solution is simple. It's soul simple. It's so simple, and it's soul simple, and it is a return to the whole of who you are. So there's an opportunity here for us to collapse into the arms of God, because civilization, as we have known it, is collapsing. We are moving into a new era, rich in love, into a new agrarian society, as the introduction to that book says. P.S. aside, I was asked to share a video on 9/9, September 9th. I have no idea why 9/9, but I was asked to record the entirety of my the original Cultivating Essence from the Matrix of Soul, Sustainable Systems for a Flourishing Humanity, which was described as a message in a bottle for the world. I was asked to record it front to back. Okay, this is the collapse of civilization as we have known it, and it is the rising up of you know, a new heaven and a new earth. But that begins, I'm always focused on the big, but let me just be clear, that begins with each one of us, you know, as a soul, as our whole self and our soul self, understanding that we are the inception of that change, and we must, for that to occur, we must allow for the collapse and rest in the arms of God, and allow ourselves to be in that cradle of a new civilization. And that includes the internal agrarian society. It begins with gardening of your own soul. It begins with cultivating you so you can share the fullest expression of who you are, come to life and live in full expression, which is, you know, like what all of my life's work has been about. October, you know, as I'm shown in it, it's like you ain't seen nothing yet, you know, that song, you ain't seen nothing yet, it keeps going through my mind. It's like, this is the revelation of a mystery. And, you know, I have seen that in one way as I've talked about it through, you know, the last 10 years, like the revelation of a mystery. I used to have it on my Facebook page, but I got tired of people like attacking it, so I took it off. Like, whatever, can't deal with the truth. Fine, I'll take that down. I won't share my little picture of where I come from. But this is the revelation of a mystery. A mystery. I've always seen that as the first definition of mystery, which is a mystery, something that is difficult or impossible to understand or explain. And yet it is also that second definition of a mystery. The second definition is a novel, play, or movie dealing with a puzzling crime, especially a murder. What has happened? What has happened while all of us, while you were sleeping? It's my favorite movie, While You Were Sleeping, but it's not so funny when you look at the story of humanity, the story of life, the story of our civilization, what has actually happened while we were sleeping, or in La La Land, or, like, you know, going through the motions. And all of us have done it, myself included, you know, felt pretty nice, although like we can always compare ourselves, but you know, it feels pretty nice to be free and without a care, and in my case, wandering through the woods, although there's purpose to that and intention, but it's easy enough when it's not right there in your face to not pay attention. But we can no longer afford that, because the fact is that there has been a movie going on in humanity. It's been playing out on our big screen for like millennia now, and it does have to do with a puzzling crime, especially a murder. And that murder has been the murdering of innocent souls, not just victims and in particular ways, but the soul of humanity, our collective soul. So let's turn it back to light. Do you feel the light? You know, what's really happening here is this. We're so close to the light of humanity, the dawn of a new era, the inception of that new agrarian society, that new era rich in love, the passage to a new society, those 12 diamond dimensions. We're so freaking close that the attempts to block your connection to you, to the light of the sun and its nourishment, to the light of the sun that rises up within you, the S-O-N, sun, the true Christ light that you are. We're so close to that. We're so close to the light of that one light that we share, that is the heart of all faiths, that is to the light and the life and the love that you are, to the breath of heaven, to the breath of life, to the love of God, to the love of our fellow human. We're so close to touching that. Remember that little painting that's on the ceiling of the Vatican? Whatever that's called. I can't remember right now. Remember Michelangelo's famous painting? Yeah, we're so close to that all, you know, it's like all the efforts are being made to stop it. You know, so look at how. It's so obvious, right? Oh, can't breathe the air. Oh, can't connect with more than this many people. Oh, you can't, you shouldn't stay in your houses. You shouldn't go outside. Don't congregate on, you know, and again, I personally am not saying that this is all fake. You know, however, let's get real and look. Let's just feel into this. Does something feel off or does it not? That's the only question, even if you don't know. And there are things I'm not so sure about. However, it is imperative that you connect to your inner light, and that you not snuff that out. Don't allow it. Don't allow it to be snuffed out by that scared little child inside of you, by whoever is saying about you know. Now obviously it's not just about one person. Certainly it's about society and life and coming together in ways that support one another and that particularly protect those, and honor is more important than protection. Honor those who are most vulnerable within any society, any population. I just take my glasses off. I might as well leave them on now because I'm going to read something else. But yeah, so the light in October, it's going to be right there, but it's going to be very easy to focus on the less than light and the exposition of that which has been masquerading as light. So what is the true masquerade, right? Like, and an ancient echo will not be denied its rising. There's definitely a reconfiguration that's happening, and that again, it's the global, and I don't want to use that word actually, the in terms of that new civilization, the new era rich in love, the new heaven and the new earth, but it's also the ancient echo is emanating from each human soul. And so that reconfiguration that's happening, you know, that shift, it is a shift of ages within us, because it's a whole, it's like, you know, I guess some people will describe that as a paradigm shift, but it's a return to the sacred and to what is most true, to the breath of life, to the light of God, the light of humanity, the light, the one true light, and the life that is the light. The light and the life and the love that you are. And so, yeah, I know I'm being a bit rambly. Last thing is, I wanted to share with you also at the end of this video, I've been sharing on Instagram a little bit in September. For some reason I was called to share my Soul of America paintings and photos from various places, and I was sharing quotes from the book that I wrote way back in 2014 when I took my journey to the Heartland. So I'm going to tack that onto the end here so you can hear that experience from 6 years ago and how I was called to the center. And I want to end with that just to say that that's what we're being called to. We're called back to the center, to the heart of who you are, and to the fact that you can rest in the arms of God, and you can return to the heart of the great I am, to which you belong eternally. And the fact is that as the waves crash, I'm looking something up here for just a sec, as the waves crash, we can return to that true resting place, and know that we exist within this ocean of experience that we call life here, and that we are called to allow for life and life to the full. On my Facebook feed, I don't go to Facebook as often as I used to, but on my Facebook feed today, a memory popped up from 8 years ago today. It's actually a poem I wrote earlier than that, but I had shared it 8 years ago today on September 27th, 2012, and I just want to share that poem with you. Sometimes you walk along a beach, and that's what we're doing right now as a collective. Sometimes you walk along a beach, focused on the fine line where sand sinks into sea, and fail to notice the strong tide creeping in. And sometimes you are tending to the tasks of the everyday and are completely immersed by a flood of vague remembrance brought on by nothing in particular, and changing everything all at once, as if there had never been any separation at all, as if all the time and space between your heart and another had been dissolved like the sand at the water's edge. And then another wave crashes against you, 10 digits on a screen, perhaps, or an odd coincidence when you don't believe in coincidence. And then it is no longer an abstract concept breaking apart, but it is the very essence of what makes you, you, merging into a deeper truth, mysterious and beyond that which can be acknowledged or understood with words or concepts. Then all you can do is walk along the beach and let the ancient seas sing to your soul and recycle your tears. All you can do is give yourself completely to the force of life and love, and trust that someday that goodness will be enough to supersede the fear in another's heart. All you can do is dare to hope. Hope is critical right now, by the way. All you can do is dare to hope. All you can do is body surf and try to breathe. All you can do is be grateful for the ocean's pull and rise to the rolling wave. All you can do is fall and get back up again every time and reach forward in the dark. So that was sometimes you walk along a beach. And that last paragraph, I would add a line in 2020 here that says, and dive back into life, allowing the current to carry you back to you and into the heart of the great I am. And this is what October is going to present us with very clearly, is the opportunity. It may not appear to be clear. I want to say that because I think it's going to be muddled and choppy waters, but really confusing for many people. I hope that I'll be able to see clearly, and I hope that you will be able to see clearly. But stay connected above all else to the light of your purity and your innocence. and rest in the arms of God, because this is the birthing. We are in the cradle of a new civilization. Those rivers of life, they will carry us, and we will emerge from this time once we understand what has been presented as light that was, again, a false light, or in some cases, a deep darkness, and how that has affected each one of us. So hold fast to the truth of who you are and the freedom that is your birthright, and it is a sacred freedom. This is why we're all here right now. I know that more than ever. And I see you, my sisters and my brothers. Much love. I'll see you again soon. In North Carolina, I don't have the great signal. The one thing that's important to convey is that I think it was the 9th, I believe it was 9/9, right around there. It was definitely before 9/11. I was strongly, like more strong than I've had in, I would say, at least 3 years, since probably the first year I had this channel, on the Dawn of the New Earth channel, because I might share this elsewhere too. But yeah, it's got to be way back in like 2016 or maybe 2017 was the last time I felt this strongly. Like, it was like imperative. They wanted me to go get my good mic, which I do have with me, which I rarely use, get my good microphone, and they wanted me to read straight through the entire manuscript of the book that I released on the summer solstice of 2012, the one that the message that was sort of planted in my heart from 1999 on, and I was too afraid to scared to share for so long. And it was originally titled Cultivating Essence from the Matrix of Soul, Sustainable Systems for Flourishing Humanity. I know, a mouthful, but I've reworked it, and it's now the Life Seeds core curriculum, and it's available in my book, Seeds for Life, if you want to know what I'm talking about. So they wanted me to record, though, the entire original manuscript, which I finally wrote down in 2011 and then shared publicly for the first time in the summer of 2012, when it was available for, I think, about 3 or 4 months as a free download, and it was downloaded, I think, I don't know, a lot, 4,000 or 5,000 times. And but again, I never really, it's interesting, I don't think I've ever read just the core passages through, because the core passages in the original were completely only what was, like, literally, it was planted in my heart. If you read that and then you read my books, I love my books too, and they're given by Spirit as well, but there's a distinct difference in voice, and they wanted me to read it straight through, which I had to take a lot of water breaks, but they wanted me to record it on video, which I did, and upload it. And there was a very timed thing, like at a certain time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I did that, and oh my goodness, yeah. It was like, I think it was uploading for like 3 days, and then finally it, I don't know, it did this weird thing. And when it did this weird thing, this very bizarre thing happened on YouTube, which I will discuss at a later time. I don't want to get distracted with my own story here. So I did record it, and it was just, it was beautiful to read it again. And again, I'm not exactly sure what the timing thing was, how that tied into whatever was happening on, again, I think it was the 9th, could have been the 10th, could have been the 8th, somewhere around there. And so finally it wasn't finishing uploading. So I finally, started to take it down. And when I went to take it down, it was also a bizarre thing happened. But anyway, it's not online, because it won't upload. And I'm still here, for a while. So they wanted me to read just the intro of Cultivating Essence from the Matrix of Soul, which, again, it's now in my book, Seeds for Life. But here's that, and then I'll say a few more things and lead into the Heartland share with you. Here on earth, we move as tillers of a new era, rich in love.
Rooted in the magical and the miraculous, we are growing back toward the ground of God. We are planted in this world not by accident. We are here by choice, each and every one of us. We were chosen and we chose. We come carrying sacred seeds of essence, particular expressions of the infinite divine meant to be scattered in the fertile atmosphere of this place and time. These seeds of promise within each one of us hold the potential for a new world not constricted by the belt of reason, circumstance, or traditional belief, but rather expanded wholly by the gift of who we are. I see us connected one to the other and lifted in thanksgiving for this opportunity to return to the wholeness of who we once were and who we are even now. Whether we make this journey will be determined by the choices we make on a daily basis, moment by moment. The roads we choose to follow every day lead us either in the direction of fulfilling the call to which we once said yes, or they take us farther away. Are we traveling in the way that leads us home? We come to this world as little babies, eyes closed, curled up, tiny toes wiggling as we become accustomed to the feeling of our bodies. Innocent and pure, each one of us carries something vital and precious. Some of us know this from the beginning. Others have forgotten. How we use the gifts that we are given, the gift of who we are, is up to us. We have been given free will, and the choice of whether we use all of who we are and how we do so is ours alone. It is up to each one of us. Whether we acknowledge it, whether we choose to nurture it, whether we keep it to ourselves, or whether we throw open the whole of our life and loose it to the wind, these decisions will determine our common course. This world affords us many opportunities to cover up this truth, to smother the seed and squander its gift. At every turn, we may be tempted to hide from the light we bear. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to convince ourselves we have nothing of value to share. The question of who am I rattles around in our minds. It's easy to set what we know we are here to do aside for a later time, when we know more, when we have achieved some measure of success, when we feel ready or brave or healed. Now is the only time. Now, in our time, we must become like gardeners, nurturing and nourishing what we carry in these bodies, tending to it daily and allowing it to grow into its fullness. It is our responsibility and ours alone to choose to honor the unique sacred gift within us and to breathe life into that tender gift of mercy. We must become a community of gardeners, learning from those among us who have quietly been living in this way. We must intentionally clear out the weeds within and prune overgrown branches. It is up to each one of us to ensure that the seed within receives the space, the sustenance, and the sunlight it needs to grow, that it is protected from the storm so that it can take root. We must tend to the seeds of grace with patience for life's unfolding process and water them with our love. Only then will those precious gifts be seen and received by those who will recognize within us the message they most need to receive. Only then can we water the world with the fullest expression of who we are. This is the moment of the great turning. If we turn back to the care of our souls, we may yet find redemption and grace unimagined. If we lose our footing, we may fall back into forgetfulness, and for a time that sacred seed planted within might be lost to others. The stakes are high. The time is ripe. The world is waiting. We are the creators of a new society, an internal agrarian society that will lead to a civilization far more humane than that which we have created to date as we focused on building external systems, organizations, and structures. Start with everything you already have. Tend to it. Care for that which has been entrusted to you. Bring it into harmony with all that is. Riff on its singular magnificence and allow that to awaken our world and all those who have come bearing their own song to amazing possibility. We are only at the beginning after all. Let's go. I keep coming back to the stone and the ancient memory. The other thing also slightly connected there is that when I said that it was like there were codes coming through the stone and it had to do with representatives, they feel like, I mean, they do feel kind of, I have to say, they feel like they're very tied to the land, and yet there's something very like eternal, sort of more so than even normal when I experience these sorts of things, and maybe even galactic in nature, and very sacred, very, very sacred. And there's something related to, yeah, all I know to say is there's something related to the stone, and when I say codes, and I never have really, that word feels limited to me personally. I know a lot of people use that. I don't know what else to call it though. But it's activation, and what I was saying earlier about the fact that the earth, what am I trying to say here? There's a harnessing of the ancient echo that will rise. It will not be denied its rising. I think that's the way I put it earlier. It will not be denied its rising. And so there's I guess you would call it a reconfiguration or a realignment that I'm not quite sure what it has to do with, to be honest. But that also feels very, very sacred. And it's as if we are, each one of us, whether we're aware of it or not even, we're doing this internally, and each individual heart is having the opportunity to choose. And I do believe this was tied back to that timing on the when I was asked to share that initially. Each one of us is being asked to choose, and I've seen some things here about October. I'm not going to speak to that in this video, but that that internal process, and then whatever's happening with the geophysical world, and then also what's happening in terms of the more moving to a new internal agrarian society is how it was put to me there in that intro. And the internal agrarian society must come before we can move into a harmonious external experience. And we all want that, don't we? Otherwise, we're going to be perpetuating this circus thing forever, and so it's about doing the work in our own heartland. I will say that there's a real reverence, is what I would call it, a real reverence and a no hurry energy with that energetic frequency that I'm connecting with there, that again is connected to the stone and the rock and the whatever these codes are. But this building the nest, I never finished that thought. The foundation, building the nest. So when we say the word foundation, or at least when I say the word foundation, I often think of a big structure, right? Like I think of Solomon's temple, or I think of a massive structure. And I find it so beautiful that the symbol that I was given for the year was a nest, a bird's nest. And how fragile that is, isn't it? But at the same time, if you really read about birds' nests, many of them are quite strong. They're made of these little twigs, and yet they're intricate and they're woven together. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for this time that we find ourselves in. And then also that the more beautiful revelations, because I believe there will be those. I think we're going to have to look for them. And I think, I think that it's going to be easy for some across the spectrum, by the way. I'm not talking about just those who are, have their eyes closed and are, caught up in a total 3D matrix. But I'm also talking about just I think it's going to be easy to not see it if we're not connected with our hearts, if we aren't focused on creating that internal agrarian society. Now, what does that mean? I don't have all the answers for that, but I do know it has to do with cultivating from our core the light and the life and the love we are. This is the work. And this is the joy. And now is the time.
Hey everyone, it is Dawn and welcome to the studio. I'm in North Carolina right now. I've been here for about a week and a half, I think. This is my cat friend, Foo. I call him Foo Fighter. He's so fun. So he decided to join me here. I want to share with you, I've been sharing some images from the Soul of America collection of paintings and photos. I like to create wherever I travel to and write, of course. And I've been sharing some of the quotes from the Journey to the Heartland book, which I wrote about, was that six years ago. I think I said earlier in some place, I said 8 years back. I can't do math. It was 2014 and it's 2020. So that is 6 years, right? Yes, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Yeah, it's only 6 years. Yeah, I did it again. 6 years. That is unbelievable to me because things have changed so much. I mean, the pace of the change has been quite rapid in my life. So today I wanted to just give you a little read to you instead of posting a quote. I think I might have posted a quote from this chapter. I'm going to read chapter 1 to you. And I also wanted to let you know that I hope to come on here and do some of these sort of lives from the studio, at least once a month. At least I can do once a month. So I'm going to try to do them on the second Sundays, which today is. So let me find the section I want to read with you, and here we'll go. Okay, here we go. This is chapter 1 from Journey to the Heartland. Also, I've made a free chapter download, not this one, a different chapter download, as well as giving you access to all the behind the scenes videos, the short clips, and then 3 longer videos of me sharing other material from the book. And you can have access to that for free. It'll give you a taste too of what's in the book, just so you'll know, and to see if it's for you or not. So this is called Dreaming My Life, Called to the Center, Daring a Yes. If you want to know the truth, it started with a dream. The Pacific Rim was on fire, and something that looked like a crystal city was rising from the Atlantic Ocean. The west coast of the United States was crumbling. The eastern seaboard had moved inland by hundreds of miles. I woke up, startled, and heard the words distinctly emanating. This is why I'm not doing this live. So I woke up, startled, and heard the words distinctly emanating from deep within my core. Go to the center. I don't think so. My mind registered a vote quickly. Still, I know the call of spirit when I sense it, and there was no mistaking. This was an invitation into the dance of my own life. I would say yes. About this, there was no doubt. The question was, to what exactly was I saying yes? I set about grounding myself and coming to my own center. This being the work of my life, and one I conveniently forgot or pushed down the list of seemingly important to-dos that cluttered my days. I was no stranger to the idea of returning to my center. It was the big cosmic joke, which perhaps, no surprise, turned out to be the universe delivering precisely what I needed, that I had been given the task of sharing 3 books on the subject of cultivating from our core so that we can water the world with the fullest expression of who we are. 2 years later, here I was, still needing reminders. Oh yes, cultivate my essence. Back on track with the daily centering, the nagging, go to the center call was still there. This time it appeared with a renewed sense of urgency. My heart was ready to go, but where? And how would it be possible? My mind was still busy poo-pooing the idea with renewed vigor. I didn't have the money. Now was not the time. Nobody wants what you have to offer, remember? Besides, if I'm going to take a trip, I want to go somewhere exciting, not drive nearly 1,000 miles into the breadbasket only to see mile after mile of empty farmland. Besides, I didn't even know anyone in the vast expanse of land we call the Midwest, or so I thought. When the call to the center would not leave me alone, I got online to create a map And I put dots where I did know people. There were really only 4 dots, but the path made the shape of a heart. The Heartland. The Heartland trip. Journey to the Heartland. It had a nice ring to it. On a whim, I posted on social media that I would be taking a trip, and I was thinking about the Midwest. Within days, I had places to stay in 5 states. Deep within my heart, I felt an opening. The idea was shaping up, and this journey was becoming something real. My mind conceded that it was only a matter of time. I was doing it. This trip, which I had now dubbed my journey to the Heartland, would give me time and space to consider where I am on the map of my life, where I am headed next. Whether the world fell apart or not, I was intent on getting my own life together. And if by chance it was still going to be falling apart, then at least it could fall to pieces while I was out having a grand adventure. I'd put on hold for decades now. I was thirsting for something more and ready for another yes, determined to live what I believe, that we are here, each one of us, to come to life, to live in full expression. I wanted to test out my theory that when we tap the deep streams of our soul, awakening the world within, finding our forward flow, embracing a whole new vision for what's possible, we each naturally spark a revolution of love in a certain sort of way that only we can. I was doing it. Going deeper into my heartland and daring the adventure into the heartland of my homeland. So that was the opening chapter to Journey to the Heartland, and I hope you enjoyed it. So it started with a dream, and I did a little drawing based on that dream of the crystal city rising out of the Atlantic. And when I did that drawing, it was for me like a reconnection to my own true home. My home is here on Earth at this time, but I have a forever home, and so that was the beginning of my journey to the Heartland. And in this book, it is part travel memoir, or travel log, and part spiritual memoir. So I talk a lot about what's happening for me. I'm sort of processing as I'm and writing as I travel, and that's how I continue to live to this day. I don't always publish things, but I often share in videos or in other forms. Sometimes I'll create a painting, and this is my life, is to listen for the call of spirit and to follow it. When I went on that journey to the Heartland, even at the end of it, the end of the 30 days, I think it was, and I was driving home, I was like, what was that all about? I really didn't quite understand, but what I did know is that there were activations all along the way for me and for the land. I'm deeply connected to the land in many places that I travel, and also to the more ancient echoes that emanate from deep within the earth and from the land itself. And so I didn't really have a lot of information about what that meant, until really fairly recently. And even now, I feel like, it's not always our job to understand when we are called to take a step in our lives. And so I want to leave you with that. Just, if you have a dream that comes to you in whatever form, and if it feels true and resonant and the call of spirit, follow it. Say yes to your life. Come to life. Live in full expression. If you'd like to get that free chapter and the behind the scenes videos from my journey to the Heartland, you can now do that. Just go to my website, dawnrichardson.com, look for the About tab, and then look for free resources. When you click that link, you will see a couple of free downloads that I have, and look for the Journey to the Heartland, and you can access that and enjoy that. Okay, take care, everybody.